I'm Nate the Bias User, and today I'm going to be reviewing this new Charli XCX album, Brat. Charli XCX is here once more with the only album where the cover doesn't even have her in it. And I didn't entirely know how much to anticipate this due to the bit of a letdown I found Crash to be, even though I guess I can appreciate it breaking out of its PC music style from the self-titled, as well as How I'm Feeling Now, and the two mixtapes she dropped in 2017. But I guess there's no point in appreciating that on Crash now, because I wouldn't say this record, while still being more into the PC music style than Crash, is still entirely that. But this also isn't entirely anything you would expect from the True Romance and Sucker era during the early to mid 2010s. But I can say Brat is what you get when all of these different Charli phases are worked to their strengths and cooperating, resulting in music that can hit in ways you wouldn't expect. We start off with the track 360, where after getting a few seconds of feathery synths, it immediately strikes you with an incredibly dense bass riff that will have you surrounded when it plays, and complements Charli's singing. The strongest vibe is mostly from her humming, expressing such a high level of joy. And of course she has the futuristic autotune going with it, but in an overall spacey atmosphere. Great track and a very unapologetically straightforward way to kick off the album. And that feel continues on with Club Classics, where Charli is rapping on this hard-hitting rave beat that gets better when these glittering synths start rising and become the beginning of the chorus, until Charli starts singing in at least two vocal layers, over a wacky wavy bass going all over this track. It's a good time. But later we get Sympathy as a Knife, a track where Charli touches on her insecurities, with her comparing herself to some other person, not that I know who it is, and it's good. I like it when artists get personal and express their feelings, but instrumentally, this has to be my least favorite. Mainly because it just sounds like something she's already done, possibly more than once, only with the fluffy production and grand atmosphere of this overall record. Then there's I Might Say Something Stupid, a short soft cut where she's expressing doubt about her being right for the life she's currently living. Not long, but I can confidently say she's said enough for her to not even hit the 2-minute mark. Chill moment for the record, but it gets right back to the party with Talk Talk, where the synths are very heavenly, and it fits well with Charli repeating the lyrics, "We should talk talk." Then the party continues with the banger Von Dutch, where along with a fuzzy synth bass you would catch on something as late as the tweens, I can't get enough of the squishing drums. And what is this high-pitched synth backing up the fuzzy bass I mentioned? So loud and yet not really in your face. Afterwards there's Everything Is Romantic, a massive rush of a track. It opens up with a beautiful orchestra that Charli calmly sings over, then out of nowhere the orchestra leaves, while the dance beat comes in fast. And Charli delivers the same performance, but a little more faster, and I'm instantly sold by this spontaneous approach by the foggy background synths. And that's not all this track has to offer, because once we enter the chorus, the beat jams so much harder while she sings the song's title. And then after, we get a progression of the verse with a grand rise of synths. And when she starts repeating the lyrics "fall in love again and again," we get the vocals switching to this high-pitched robot auto-tune that gets complemented amazingly by a breezy bass background. This thing was a lot, and to continue, there's Rewind, where it gets relatable. Charli wishes she could go back to a time where she wasn't insecure about how she looked, or even about her current status as a pop artist, and she even reminisces and compares her current thoughts to how she felt in the past. Beautiful track, and same goes for the next one, which is also a tearjerker, that is So I. There were no names being dropped, but with the lyrics quoting the title, "It's Okay to Cry," we knew this was going to be a tribute to the dearly departed Sophie Zion. It's soft, low-key, and all Charli really needs to express how she was, and still is, feeling about her passing, showing regret for not spending as much time as she could have with her. And while she does mention a bit of a falling out they had, it's made very clear how much Sophie meant to her, not just as a musician, but as a friend and personal influence. And just knowing who this song was going to be about, we all knew this was going to get to people's heartstrings, but it strikes even harder when you get it from someone who knew her personally. But yeah, this was a sad and yet amazing midpoint to the record, and of course, rest in peace Sophie. To the follow-up, it is a cut that a lot of people have been wondering who it was about, Girl So Confusing, which we now know is about Lorde. And since I have yet to listen to the with Lorde version, I can say I'm not getting the full picture. But simultaneously, with or without, it's very catchy on the chorus, and it keeps you plugged in on the verses, with a buzzing bass. Great track, and can't wait to listen to the collab. Apple is fun not only with the instrumental, but also with the Apple metaphor it provides, that I do enjoy overthinking the hell out of. There's only so much I can really say about this track, but nevertheless, it's one of my favorite songs, on not just this album, but of the year. Of all time, Possibly. Then we get B2B, that with not only just the song, but it reminds and allows me to appreciate the fact that Charli knows how to give out the most repetitive of lyrics in all the right ways. The back-to-back lyrics, despite there being so much of it, is so cute, and for some reason I just don't want it to end. But at least when it does, we get the song Mean Girls, a track that will vibrate your skull with synths, that pushes the loudness of Charli singing. This track is insanity, and even when they hold things back to make room for the piano section, it still progresses. It still has that Daft Punk-esque robot voice that's exclusive to that part of the song. I'll take it. I'll take all of it. I think about it all the time. There's another deep track where Charli is talking about how even though she's famous and successful in her career, she wonders if her life would be more fulfilling and had more purpose if she had children, and just her own family in general, while acknowledging that one day if she doesn't, it will be too late, which personally I do find to be relatable to a certain degree. And I assume many people can as well, because even if you are young, you can still be just old enough to feel like you may have missed out on certain opportunities that you had when you were younger. And on the other end, you may also know what it's like to think about your future and worry about yourself missing out on certain opportunities, even if said opportunity hasn't even been missed yet, but we still think about it all the time. This track is melancholy and yet also optimistic, and the instrumental was able to stay engaging, even with it sounding as low-key as it did. And this leads us to the closer, 365, basically a part 2 to 360, but I believe the tempo is slightly faster, and it starts off with the same instrumental and singing, but it gets progressive and very noisy. It's just a tunnel of a bunch of wacky passages. It may not be a very moody or emotional ending, but I think that's why I appreciate it so much, because even when we get those moments of anxiety, tragedy, and self-doubt, at the end of it all, we can still have fun. Brat is an amazing Charli XCX album. Scratch that, Brat is the Charli XCX album. It's everything she's learned, been through, and again, even though I wasn't crazy about Crash, I can still look back and feel like this record couldn't have happened without the previous. The same way I could look back at the Daft Punk album Random Access Memories, feeling like that record couldn't have happened without Human After All. And the complaints I really have with this record, outside of the moods feeling too straightforward in a track-by-track basis, it mostly comes down to comparisons to one track from another. Because despite all the tracks being great, I definitely look at the majority of the first half, feeling like on average, they're not as great as the final half. Like, the album gets more and more amazing the further you get in. And with all that being said, I will just give Brat a 9.1. Yep. Like, subscribe, comment how you feel or give a suggestion. Check out my other social medias, ring that bell, and I'll see you next time.